All right, guys. So Joe Rogan went off on Brian Stelter. Okay, he called him out. Okay, called him out for being a partisan hack. Okay, somebody who's basically not a real person on TV. Okay, people like him, Don Lemon, Cuomo, all those guys, they're all in the same boat. They're not really humans. Okay, and this is why alternative media is popular. Okay, because people want to hear real opinions from real people, right? Not opinions from people who are pretending to have opinions, right? And these opinions have to be sanctioned by their corporate overlords. It's not what people want to hear. And because of that, Brian Stelter and CNN is struggling. Now, again, like I said, Joe Rogan went off on Brian Stelter with Kyle Kulinski, right? Who has a progressive alternative media YouTube channel, in which, you know, they were discussing what's going on with YouTube and how, you know, content like mine's and his, right, conservative and progressive alternative media channels are being suppressed, while at the same time they are pushing content like Brian Stelter's and Don Lemon's over our content because their content is approved by the corporate overlords. Okay, it's the mainstream narrative. Okay, so content like mine's, even again progressive channels, content that's on the fence, they're gonna push those down the algorithm. But even despite all this, legacy media outlets, particularly CNN, right, they're still struggling because they're just bad. And Joe Rogan expands on this in his episode with Kyle Kulinski, and you guys take a listen.
Interesting, because they're deciding who should grow and who shouldn't. And there must be some, like, remember when CNN was talking about podcasters, about how, you know, that there's people on YouTube that get more views than a CNN show, as if it was some horrible thing. They didn't even understand the way they were describing it. They were describing it as if they're entitled to viewers.
That's right.
They were saying, there's people on YouTube right now that get more views than this show. This is because the market is spoken,
right?
And your show's fucking terrible.
That's right.
Well,
they suck.
Brian
They're terrible
Stelter's show keeps slipping and slipping and slipping in the ratings.
He's the worst. And you know
Same
what they
with Don
do?
Lemon. It's the same thing. Everybody knows that they're not real. They're not real humans.
And Joe, when you read those articles and you listen to those guys talk, Stelter's done this a number of times. There are segments where they're outright calling for censorship.
Yes.
They're like, hey, please deplatform the people who I don't like because, you know, they're saying things that are conspiracy theories. And by the way, they use that for fucking anything. They use it so loosely.
Brian Stelter talking to the press secretary saying, what are we doing wrong? What are we doing wrong? Like, hey, mother, you're supposed to be a journalist.
And they wonder why they get no views.
But it's not even that. It's like they're obviously being told a certain amount of what to do. And I mean, maybe he'd be an interesting guy if he had his own fucking podcast. If he could just rely on his own personality and be himself. I don't know. I can't imagine doing that gig.
No, you're 100% right.
Any of those guys, that gig is a strange gig.
Listen, I have now for the first time in my life, I've always been outside of the traditional media system, but now for the first time in my life, I have firsthand experience with how this stuff operates in corporate media, and it's even more gross than I thought it was.
All right, guys. So, I mean, hey, what Joe Rogan said is the same stuff that I've been saying about Brian Stelter for so long, right? The dude is struggling. CNN is struggling. They are struggling without Trump, okay? And it continues to get worse, right? It was bad when Trump left office, but now during the summertime, it is really, really bad, okay? As Fox News wrote this very interesting article about Brian Stelter and his struggles that I think really defines the situation that CNN is in with their host. So let's read here. CNN's Brian Stelter draws smallest audience of 2021 as reliable sources gets crushed by media buzz. CNN's reliable sources with Brian Stelter has failed to attract 1 million viewers for 11 straight weeks and averaged only 752,000 on Sunday for its smallest audience of 2021. Stelter, who claims to cover the media industry but often ignores stories that would tarnish the reputation of a fellow liberal, lost 5% of his viewers compared to the previous week. The struggling show has now finished with less than 800,000 viewers on 3 different occasions in 2021. Whew. Again, Steven Crowder is getting more views than this guy. Okay? And it's funny because Steven Crowder's being suppressed, right? Even with him being suppressed, he is still lapping this man, okay? He doesn't have corporate media behind him. It just goes to show how terrible these guys are. Fox News Media Budge, which is Stelter's direct time slot competition, averaged 1.1 million viewers to beat the struggling CNN show by a whopping 41%. Fox News aired 12 different programs on Sunday alone that attracted a larger audience than reliable sources. Yo, Fox News is roasting this man, bruh. Fox News is roasting this man up, bruh. They're not holding back. While reliable sources is billed as a media program, Stelter's tiny audience didn't get a chance to hear about the most buzzed about segment of the week when it didn't cover Jeffrey Toobin's awkward return to CNN after he was caught masturbating on a Zoom call with colleagues from his other gig. Stelter had previously reported that some CNN hosts and anchors expressed a desire to have Toobin back, but he didn't name names. Viewers who tuned in to see if Stelter would elaborate on air were left disappointed when he didn't even utter Toobin's name during the program. Quote, reliable sources has been hitting embarrassing new lows in various rating measures on a regular basis in recent weeks as the program struggles to find relevancy during the Biden era. Stelter spent much of the previous few years criticizing former President Trump at every turn, but hasn't found a formula to attract an audience since Biden was sworn in. Bruh, did Trump write this article, bruh? Like, who wrote this article? Who wrote this article, man? Who wrote this? Who wrote this? Brian Flood. Brian Flood. Bruh, it sounds like Trump wrote this. It really do. Because they are roasting Brian Stelter right now. They're not holding back. Okay? And I don't blame him because Brian Stelter spends most of his time talking junk about Fox News. And nobody wants to watch that. Even liberals don't want to watch that. Okay? Even liberals don't want to watch it. So I don't blame Fox News for hitting back. And Fox News is hitting back with the facts, the data, right? That, hey, y'all can talk all the smack you want about us, but we successful. We more successful than y'all, right? Reliable sources have now failed to attract even 200,000 viewers among the crucial demographic of adults aged 25 to 54 for 10 straight weeks. Sunday's episode was seen by only 129,000 viewers among the key demo, which was the show's third worst performance of the year in the category most important to advertisers. Media Buzz averaged 185,000 demo viewers to beat reliable sources by 43%. The dismal turnout for Sunday's episode of CNN's media show was even worse than the small audience of 791,000 viewers who tuned in for Stelter's chummy interview with White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki that was widely panned earlier this month. Last week, Stelter was mocked by callers who referred to the media pundit as a minister of misinformation during an appearance on C-SPAN's Washington Journal. Mr. Stelter is the biggest minister of misinformation I've ever heard, and I'm a news junkie. A caller identified as Kevin from Indiana told the liberal CNN host. A separate caller identified as Gordon in Kansas asked Stelter, who he recently referred to as a content machine, to admit he and his network are a bunch of liars about Donald Trump. Oh my God, I actually do remember seeing that. Oh man, bruh. That's how bad this dude is. That's how terrible this man is. Everybody's going after him. And guys, I had done a video a few weeks ago about how there's word on the street that one of these guys is on the chopping block at CNN. And I gotta wonder at this point. Again, I'm not asking for Brian Stelter to be canceled. I'm just saying, I have to wonder. I mean, how does this man keep his job, right? When he has a guest host, okay, when he's on vacation, the show has more viewers than when he's on the show. That's how you know he's bad. He's just bad for business, right? And at some point when you're this bad, you got to be let go, bro. It happens to everybody, right? It happens to everybody. And this dude's job performance is abysmal, okay? During a time like this, I get it. Trump's not around. But hey, you know what? You shouldn't attach yourself to Trump. You shouldn't attach yourself to just, oh, Trump. Hey, listen. Being a person that's in media, last year during the election, hey, I talked about Trump a lot, but I also made sure I talked about other things, okay? I didn't solely attach myself to just Trump. I talked about all kinds of stuff because I knew that, okay, in the event that Trump's not in office anymore, obviously I can't keep talking about Trump, right? So, hey, I found other things to talk about, right? I didn't attach myself to just one thing. But unfortunately, CNN has chosen to be Trump, Democrats good. And now that Biden's in office, they can't criticize Biden anymore. And because Trump's not in office, Trump is less relevant to the liberals because he's not actually in power. So now attacking Trump ain't really all that effective, right? So now that Trump's out of office, they're like, oh no, we got to attack Fox News now. Tucker Carlson's the new Trump. Y'all remember that segment? They tried to make Tucker Carlson out to be the new Trump. That's how desperate they were to create a new villain. But that didn't work either. Because Tucker Carlson, for as much as the left hates on him, his opinions are popular. People like his opinions. People jive with his program. Way more than they jive with Brian Stelter. And the part that really pisses me off, really, with people like Brian Stelter, is the fact that they openly call for censorship of alternative media platforms, okay? They openly call for censorship of platforms like mine, right? Because, oh, well, they think that we are misinformation or whatever, right? When the reality is they're just jealous. They're jealous because we are able to have our own platforms and to build up an audience and to basically do their job, but do it at a higher level with less resources, right? I don't have a bunch of corporate resources to feed me information, right? To feed me sources. I have to do my own research. I have to edit my own videos. I have to write my own script, even though I don't use a script, okay? I have to upload those videos. I have to manage my own content. I have to manage everything. All on top of that, I still got to know what the hell I'm talking about, right? That guy, all he has to do is just show up for work, and he has everything that he's supposed to talk about ready for him. He has all that ready for him. And they're jealous because somebody like Steven Crowder can do their job better than they can do their job, and they can get viewers, right? They can get viewers. And they didn't have to go to journalism school to do it, right? But this guy who claims to be a journalist can't even do basic journalism right. But he wants to complain about alternative media outlets and say that they're disinformation. So it's just hilarious seeing Joe Rogan come after him, how everybody has recognized that CNN is a universal failure, right? And it's showing up in the ratings because nobody's watching. They're irrelevant. But, you know, hey, it's 100% their fault. They should have not attached themselves to just talking about Orange Man bad for the last 4 years and should have been objective. Maybe they would have kept their audience. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.